Hi, I'm Ali Patterson and welcome to the Fintech Show. This week we get into the core of digital banking with our friends at Temenos, who provide core banking software for over 700 banks. They'll be joined by Metro Bank and Bank of Ireland to look at how digital core banking structure has put them ahead of the game. And as a bonus, we also take a walk around the annual Temenos Community Forum in Dublin. But firstly, we got our interviewees' insight on the state of the industry in 2018.
What are the problems in the industry at the moment? What are the challenges? What are the issues out there that Temenos is stepping in to really solve?
I think banks are faced today with a lot of challenges and opportunities in the industry, and I think they are multifaceted, so they're coming in from all angles really. I mean, if you look at the regulations that banks are having to adhere to, if you look at new entrants in the market, if you look at customers just in themselves becoming more intelligent, you know, there's a wealth of information on the internet that they can look up if they're trying to buy a product. Banks really are facing pressure everywhere. But I think the heart of those challenges is technology. Outdated technology specifically. You know, banks have been very, very good at adopting technology many years ago. So 30, 40 years ago, the banks took on a whole set of new technologies and they were going to be the first. But the problem is exactly that. It's old technology. It's technology that hasn't kept up to pace with today's demands. And banks have ingrained the software so deeply into their environments that they're finding it very hard to change. But they need to change. They need to have modern technology. They need to have applications that look after the customer, that make sure that the customer is at the center of their world. You know, and ripping these pieces of technology out is proving pretty difficult for banks to do, but they know that they need to do it. So I think the challenge for banks are multi-sided, but the opportunity that comes with that is fantastic. And the opportunity really for me is get that right, you know, work with a technology provider like Temenos. You know, we understand the technology that financial industries need. Let the banks do what banks do well. Let them do banking. You know, banks are fantastic at doing banking. Let technology firms deal with technology.
It's now into how you manage this unbelievably high growth and not only not do too much wrong, but we've promised to make it better. If the next iPhone's not better than the current iPhone, Apple's hurt their brand. So I have to deliver a better experience to you next year than we're doing this. So those are really the risks now.
Do you take a lot of the lessons learned on the consumer retail side and apply that to the business?
It's somewhat different on the commercial side. A commercial borrower, particularly of size, wants what has been lost in the British banking system. They want a commercial banker who knows their business, knows them, and they know them. So they build a relationship with that borrower. And that's what the press has been crying out for in Britain. We want our local banker back, and that's what we deliver.
The financial industry is going through an interesting phase at the moment. I think it depends on what kind of a company you are, whether you're an incumbent or a new challenger bank. I think for incumbents, let's say the traditional banking sector, there are certain sort of legacy issues that they're carrying in terms of probably last century type of systems, IT, versus let's say the newer banks have the opportunity to be perhaps fully digital, to be maybe just mobile apps. So it's a fundamentally different perspective in terms of what's happening in the industry. I think also there's a convergence, let's say, in terms of digital, in terms of what's available in tech. It's driving a very interesting innovation, pace of change, value services being offered to customers. It's happening in a technical space, whereas traditional banking wouldn't be viewed as trendsetters when it comes to digital and tech. So I think that's both the challenge and the opportunity. And I think then it's just in terms of how do incumbents choose to actually play in that sector. Do we partner? Do we collaborate? Is there something then that we need to change within our existing business models to be able to compete effectively?
Next, we took a closer look at Temenos' core solution, T24, used by Bank of Ireland and Metro Bank.
So we are involved in a number of these things. We've got a lot of experience already, you know, be it Pepper or be it other open banking opportunities that are available in Europe at the moment. Temenos has always had flexibility at the heart of its core banking application. Having a flexible system allows the bank to be in charge of its own destiny. Right? So rather than coming to the vendor like Temenos every time they want to do something or change something, be it for PSD2 or be it for open banking or be it for digitization, they can do it themselves. you've got to have a flexible core banking architecture to do that. You've got to have something that's highly parameterized, that can change quickly, that can adapt quickly to new market needs. And even more important, you've got to have something that's real time. You know, you don't want to make a change now and wait 2 weeks for that change to be adopted into a release program so that that release program can release the product to the end client, and that then takes another 4 weeks. You want to make a change to a product now. You want to have that change published and checked and immediately available to the clients to consume. And you've got to have something that's flexible, that understands banking to be able to do that. Technology like ours does that. So with Bank of Ireland, of course, they're undergoing a full transformation of their core banking engine. Payments is part of that. They already have a payments provider, but what we are doing is facilitating the movement of orders from our channel software through to their legacy payments provider. That requires a lot of intelligence. The order management side of things needs to be intelligent enough to know which payments engine to route the payment to. So especially in the world of PSD2 today, you need to give the consumer what the charges are going to be, etc., which means a lot of the functionality that the payments engine in the background would have been doing in the past now needs to move into the payments order application. And that payments order application uses the same technology as our own payments hub uses. So we've taken some of the intelligent routing, some of the intelligence around how we process payments, moved it into that layer, and almost the legacy payments software becomes a simplistic view of making a payment and just doing some messages. All of the intelligence will exist in the Temenos layer. So for us, a good example of the way this has been employed is some of the work that we've done with Metro Bank. So Metro Bank, has, we all know, was one of the first banks to get a banking license in the UK for 100 years or something like that. But they really have advanced as well as they have because of the flexibility in our software. They're becoming a leader in the market. People understand them. If you go to anybody in the UK and you say, do you know Metro Bank? The answer is yes. And that's really important. That's what, if somebody says, do you know Barclays? They'll know Barclays, but Metro was a name that was unheard of 10 years ago. Now everybody knows who Metro Bank is. And it's because of, going right back to our first question, is the bank, they had a lot of challenges. They knew what the banking industry was undergoing in terms of challenges, and they needed an architecture and a technology that would support them into the new world of banking. And that's what Temenos software did with Metro.
We work with a lot of these fintech ideas. As I said, we have the big advantage of a modern core system, so they all come here first. You have to pick and choose. You go with ones that add value in a space you might not have, but it has to be integrated in our whole delivery system. So there's lots of bells and whistles, there's lots of toys. Our people, if they haven't told you already, we now open your current account online or mobile in 5 or 10 minutes. I think we're the only bank in Britain that does it. So you use all these ideas to freshen your offering to make it better.
Benefits of being digital to the core include, of course, open APIs and the scope to partner with a massive roster of digital partners. Bank of Ireland's Julie Connor explains.
So what are the actual benefits to running an open API-based architecture?
So I guess in terms of open APIs, I suppose it's a concept, the way banking has been talking about APIs recently, it's almost like it's something new, but APIs have been around, I'd say, since the last century as well. So I guess it's more or less the financial sector catching up and, trying to leverage what's been around in tech for a long time. So the benefits, I think I mentioned before, let's say in terms of typically the traditional banking sector, if you're working with 20th century IT systems, you tend to have a spaghetti junction of systems. They all talk to each other differently, data's in different formats. The advantage of open APIs is that things are standardized. You can access data in a uniform way. You can actually access it in real time. And as we know then, that allows you to do a lot more things, a lot more interesting things. You've got information that's up to date, it's accurate, it's easily accessible, it's easy to make it available to others. So, and I suppose that's kind of the win-win in open banking. It's not a one-way street, and I think that's why it's so interesting between new service providers and the traditional banking sector, that it's not just, the innovation isn't just on one side. We make data available, but then the consumers of that data can do something very interesting that benefits our customers as well as theirs. So I think it's kind of a win-win in terms of this mobility or portability of data and how it can be used by other parties.
So would you say having a flexible core banking system ultimately helps being PSD2 compliant?
Absolutely. I think having a flexible system suggests, that information is made available in a modular way. You probably only have to access it in one place. I suppose the other advantage of, say, flexible core banking is that you're getting that information in real time, as opposed to running batch processes and accessing them maybe that night time or the following day. So I think a certain amount of PSD2 compliance, yes, it's all about, making data available, but there's also then the security aspect, and there's also making sure that there's full traceability or auditability of what's happened. So I think when you've got a core banking system, it's much easier then to protect and to secure it, because things are done in a modular way. They're done in a consistent way, and then I suppose being able to monitor or to be able to see what's going on with that data, it's much more straightforward, it's transparent, and it's easier to track what's going on.
So how does Temenos intend to keep T24 relevant in the future?
T24 will be the old stuff, the legacy system. How do you make sure that it stays current? What sort of, is it just a yearly update? How do you make it stay at the top of its game?
Very good question. And I think this is a tried and tested method in Temenos already, right? So we invest a market-leading amount into our software every year. And it's not just about adding incremental changes and features and functions to something that's old. We've completely changed our technology over the years. We've completely changed the way we've done it. T24, as it is known, was something that I think we released in 2003. So we became real-time, 24/7, back in 2003. So we took away the batch-based processing of switching off your system at the end of the day. And believe me, there's still a lot of banks that do this. It blows my mind that they do, but it's true. We took that away in 2003. Now, our old software was the same. You have to switch it off during the day, but we constantly invest in it. We constantly change it. We made the platform completely independent. We used to be tied to a single database, and it's reinvesting in the software and reinvesting at levels that make it and keep it up to date with modern technology, modern architecture. So whilst I can go into the software today and find a feature or a function that I used 20 years ago when I joined Temenos, I can at the same time look at a piece of software that is as modern as it needs to be for today's needs and the future's needs.
Finally, we sent Doug McKenzie to Dublin to the annual Temenos Community Forum, a place where Temenos, their partners, clients and prospective clients discuss the future of banking.
It's been a fantastic event, listening to the Irish Prime Minister talk, and then just a packed exhibition hall. It's going to be an exciting few days. And what we're showcasing on our booth in the Hive here is our Linux One platform. And we've recently just completed a benchmark with Temenos, where in some of the metrics, it's 12 times more on a performance basis than some of the other comparison platforms.
Well, so far we have a great partnership, 14 years now, right? It's an old partnership actually. It has turned out very well for us and for them, I think.
Yeah, it's a win-win situation.
It's a win-win situation.
We're constantly enhancing it. Actually, we will be announcing very shortly a new initiative where Temenos will be utilizing our software to test the releases to the clients prior to delivering them.
Obviously, we're the leader in banking software. We are number one in so many categories right now. We have 3,000 clients in 150 countries around the world. So we have a very, very strong presence, as you can see. And really, that needs to be fueled by resources and talents that can actually deploy our products and can actually help clients to make the change, the banking transformations they have to take. So TLC and the learning community is all about propagating that ecosystem and helping us to fuel the demand for those skills. And now we've launched a new product, TLC Engine. The interest so far has been amazing. I mean, we've only been here for a couple of hours and the footfall has been tremendous. The visits to the stand have been fantastic. So very, very excited about that, being able to show our clients and our partners what we can do to help them as they enter their big projects and big change projects they have.
That's all for this week's edition of the Fintech Show. Tune in next time when we're going to be talking about the customer experience.